part that some people are losing sight of is that we found the certificate at David's house, and it's in the name Esmeralda, and it's dated the same day, the 21st, that he was at Six Flags. And
we've got a new update in the case involving David and Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And it all connects to a Build-A-Bear certificate, a roller coaster, and what seems like a trip to Six Flags. A private investigator named Steve Fisher, who's been looking closely into this situation, believes this detail could change everything. It might completely shift the timeline and suggest that Celeste wasn't just missing, she may have actually been with someone during that time. It's been a while since we last looked into this emotional and complicated story, one that's left so many questions. Everything began when a Tesla was found in Hollywood, and authorities later discovered a person inside who was identified as Celeste Rivas Hernandez. She had previously been reported missing from Lake Elsinore. The Tesla, according to records, was registered to 20-year-old artist David Anthony Burke, known for his viral song, Romantic Homicide. So far, there have been no arrests or official charges. David hasn't been linked to any wrongdoing, but questions still remain. Big ones. People want to know what his connection to Celeste really was. What kind of relationship did they have? When did they last see each other? Did they even meet in person? These questions have never truly faded. Online discussions exploded with speculation. Some people pointed out matching tattoos, others mentioned private messages, or even a rumored unreleased song that supposedly included her name. At one point, reports surfaced claiming that people close to David believed Celeste was 19. Now there's this new piece of information, a possible trip to Six Flags that might change how everything fits together. But before we get into that, let's talk about the Hollywood Hills house, not far from where the Tesla was found. That home became a central part of the entire situation. Authorities carried out a detailed search there, collecting electronic devices, examining parts of the property, and taking photos of the rooms. Still, not everything was removed. That's where private investigator Steve Fisher stepped in. He was brought on by the landlord, who said he felt left in the dark and wanted answers about what really happened at his property. According to him, the home had been leased to David's manager, and David himself had been staying there at the time. The house was just a short distance from where the Tesla was discovered. So what did the landlord do? He brought in private investigator Steve Fisher to take a closer look at what might have been left behind. And that's when things got interesting. Steve says he came across something unusual, something that could completely shift how the timeline of this story fits together. During his review, he found a Build-A-Bear certificate made out to a girl named Esmeralda, dated April 21st, 2024, only 16 days after Celeste was first reported missing. That date immediately stood out because on the same day, David had shared a TikTok showing himself on a roller coaster, which seemed to be filmed at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
So this is right after she went missing. So we've all been under the impression that she's been gone, over a year, but there's these times that we're now finding out, well, was she missing, or was she a missing person so the family or whoever wouldn't get in trouble for her not being in school, or there would be a CPS report, investigation opened right away. It appears that they knew where she was at, and she showed up at graduation. She's showed up now at the Six Flags along with a cousin, and then she shows up in September.
Here's where it gets even more curious. There's a Build-A-Bear shop inside Six Flags. So, when you line up these details, a Build-A-Bear certificate for a young girl, a TikTok from Six Flags, and Celeste's situation around that same time, it raises serious questions. Six Flags requires visitors under 15 to have an adult chaperone at least 21 years old. It's important to clear up confusion around recent claims and focus on what's verified. Private investigator Steve Fisher has addressed misunderstandings about statements attributed to him and explained why the Six Flags detail could matter for the timeline. To see why, it helps to revisit when this story first broke open. On September 8th, 2025, a Tesla that had been sitting at a Hollywood tow yard was inspected after staff noticed an unusual odor. Inside the front storage area, authorities discovered someone who had passed away with plastic material reportedly present. Records showed the car was registered to David, and the individual was later identified as Celeste. Conditions suggested significant time had passed, and official findings about how she passed have not yet been released. Authorities have indicated that multiple possibilities remain under review. and some comments have suggested the only confirmed issue might involve how the situation was handled afterward.
This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is really serious stuff, and I think it's it's sad that it was allowed to continue, and that's, I don't know why it was allowed to continue, but it was, and I think people knew where she was at, and it also makes me think that as soon.
Since then, attention has centered on a Hollywood Hills home where David had been staying. That's where Steve Fisher has spent months retracing steps. What was collected, what was left behind, which overlooked details might matter, and who could have been driving that Tesla during key moments.
Well, last spoke or contact, it doesn't really help with that. So far, the last that I have proof of is January 2nd. Now, that's what I have proof of. I don't know what LAPD has. I don't know what some of her friends might have text messages from her, but what I have is January 2nd. But I think what it does show is that there was a relationship. They were doing things, social things. And
if you've been following this story, you might remember that Steve Fisher uncovered some pretty unsettling details during his investigation. He mentioned that there may have been plans involving Celeste that seemed extremely concerning. According to Steve, he's managed to trace the Tesla's movements, figure out who had access to the property, and even recover photos and videos that help show who was present at certain times. He's also spoken with neighbors, reviewed digital files, and shared his findings directly with authorities. Now, let's get into what Steve recently revealed, this new discovery that could change how we understand the timeline.
I will say that publication did retract that statement. It was a recorded interview. So they have changed it, but of course it was already out there. But so what I said was, and what I've always said was, these were items that you would not find at a house. They would have serve no purpose at a house in the Hollywood Hills. It's items you would find more like in a farm environment. And that's exactly what I said. They're just not, it would have no use at a house in the Hollywood Hills.
Steve Fisher, the private investigator hired by the property's owner, was asked to look into what happened at the home where David had been staying. To clarify, the house was officially leased under David's manager, but David himself was living there. And it wasn't far from where the Tesla was found. In his latest review, Steve uncovered a Build-A-Bear certificate under the name Esmeralda, dated April 21st. That's about 16 days after Celeste was first reported missing, the exact same day David had posted a TikTok showing him on a roller coaster, which seemed to be filmed at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Now, the story has taken yet another turn, and it changes things again. In late September, the remains of Celeste Rivas Hernandez were formally released to her family after being found inside the Tesla of D4vd, legal name David Anthony Burke, on September 8th. That same week, investigators executed a search warrant at a home in Hollywood Hills linked to the singer, a property near where the Tesla was abandoned. Perhaps most revealing, the death certificate for Celeste indicates she was not pregnant, and her cause of death remains officially deferred as toxicology results are still pending. This matters for several reasons. First, it confirms that the investigation is being treated as a homicide by the Los Angeles Police Department, meaning they believe foul play cannot be ruled out. Second, it underlines how much time has passed between her being reported missing and the discovery, which supports what private investigator Steve Fisher said about the timeline being far less clear than previously thought. And there's one more piece that deepens the mystery. D4vd canceled major tour dates after the discovery, his home was vacated suddenly, and public scrutiny exploded, yet no charges have been filed. It raises the question, if everything lines up the way the evidence seems to show, the Build-A-Bear certificate from April 21st, the Six Flags outing, the home search, the car, the missing teen, then why is no one officially named? What's still being held back? What's strange is that even after all these discoveries, the silence from officials keeps growing louder. People expected a press conference, some kind of statement, anything, but weeks have gone by and still nothing new has been said. No updates, no names, just rumors spinning online while the real facts sit somewhere behind locked doors. Meanwhile, the people closest to the case are moving in different directions. Some of David's old circle have reportedly gone completely quiet, deleted their socials, turned off comments, or just disappeared from the internet altogether. Others are still posting like nothing ever happened. And that's what really shocks people. How can you act normal when something this serious is still unsolved? And the most confusing part? That Tesla, According to what's been pieced together, it wasn't used for months before everything was found. But during that same time, there were small signs. Digital footprints, locations pinging, messages exchanged, suggesting someone still had access to it. So, who was using it? Who parked it there? And why was it left sitting for so long without anyone asking questions? The deeper this goes, the more it feels like parts of the story were hidden in plain sight. Someone out there knows more than they're saying. Someone's holding back details that could finally explain what really happened to Celeste. Now, behind the scenes, more pieces are starting to line up, but not in the way anyone expected. There are whispers that several people once close to David might have quietly spoken with investigators. Nothing confirmed, but insiders believe certain details from those talks could explain how that car ended up sitting in that lot for so long. And if that's true, it means the story might not be about one person's actions, but a whole chain of people who made the wrong choices and then stayed silent. At the same time, tension online keeps boiling. Supporters defend David, calling him misunderstood or claiming he's being set up, while others are convinced he knows far more than he's letting on. Every post, every old photo, every lyric is being dissected, and fans are finding clues everywhere, even in things that might not mean anything at all. It's chaos, pure chaos. Still, one fact keeps standing out, that Build-A-Bear certificate and that Six Flags Day. No matter how many new theories pop up, that detail refuses to fade. It ties everything together in the strangest way. A trip that looked innocent, a souvenir that turned into evidence, and a timeline that just won't sit still. Now, as investigators quietly keep working, the internet is holding its breath. At this point,
I personally think there's 4 or 5 people that know what happened, or at least that she was in that Tesla. And I just say, I don't know how they live with themselves. I mean, it's got to be eating them up from inside. I don't know. It just seems like if it was me, I'd want to just get it out there and explain my role in it and beg for forgiveness, because it's going to be too late. It's like if we're waiting for investigators to prove it first, it's too late. And I don't understand how it's got to be eating them up. I don't know how they sleep. I don't know how. This is a 14-year-old girl.
The story feels like it's standing on the edge of something huge. Every clue, from that Build-A-Bear certificate to the Six Flags trip, the hidden photos, the silent friends, and the abandoned Tesla, they all lead to one question. What really happened, and who's still holding the missing piece? Until those answers come out, all we can do is keep watching, keep digging, and keep asking the questions nobody else wants to ask. Because every mystery eventually breaks. It's just a matter of when. If you've been following this case from the start, you already know how deep it runs. And if you're new here, make sure to stick around. We uncover stories that others are too afraid to touch. So hit that like button, share this video with someone who's been following the updates, and don't forget to subscribe for the next one. I'll see you soon, because this story, it's far from over.